And there's this whole like middle layer of businesses who I think are actually the job creators and the economic drivers of the country, right? That they really get missed.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Connections That Matter, where we share the stories of Northern Colorado's best networkers and the secrets that they have that have led to their success. Today I have a special guest, Austin Odle from Odle Consulting on the show. Austin, I'm so glad to have you in the studio.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, the way that you've shown up in my community has been super impressive. But for those who haven't met you, either around the chambers or Network in Action, share a little bit about what you do.
Yeah. So I own Odle Consulting. I help business owners own their own business instead of the business owning them. Right. I like to help solve the big problems that keep business owners up at night, that they have tried a bunch of things to solve and can't quite figure out what it is. So I'm talking things like making a ton of money, don't know where it's going, or I've been generating a ton of revenue and none of it's hitting my pocket, right? Working 80 hours a week, kids never see me, can't figure out how to stop, things like that. Right?
How 5-alarm fire does it get before they realize that they might need to bring in some outside help?
Oh, dude, it's always a 5-alarm fire.
Yeah. What signs should they look for versus when they actually do reach out?
They should be looking for, if they keep trying something to solve that problem and it's not solving the problem, right? Like problems can be solved, right? And if they keep trying something, you're probably trying to solve the wrong problem.
What consistent blind spots or people putting effort and maybe not optimal solutions do you see consistently?
I would say the number one thing that I see people trying to solve that isn't necessarily the right problem is leads. Almost every business owner complains about their leads, either volume, quality, things like that. And every once in a while, that's what's actually wrong. But most of the time, it's something downstream of that's causing the real problems that are keeping them up.
Give me an example.
Yeah. So I worked with a company, and he kept complaining about lead volume. Not necessarily volume, but quality. It's like leads are garbage. He was dumping $15,000 a month into leads for his company. And I went in and said, hey man, and he had a sales team, right? So he wasn't tracking it as well as he probably should have been. But I said, do you know how many leads you had last month? He's like, I don't know. They kept complaining, maybe 40. I said, well, you had 75 leads last month, right? And I said, do you know how many proposals you sent out? No. 30. You sent out 30 proposals. So out of those 30, do you have any idea how many of them went out within 2 business days of the appointment? It was 10, right? So you don't have a lead problem. You have a sales process problem. But he was spending all the money on the lead volume and none of it on the sales process. So.
Do you see that a lot? Like people's follow-up is less than optimal?
Oh, yeah.
And what do you think it takes in 2026 to grab attention or to make sure that your follow-up is working for you?
So I think you have to be authentic and you have to show up. You have to do what you say you're going to do. I don't think it's changed, right? I think that's been the secret for a long time. And it's really easy to say and it's hard to do, especially when you got a million other things going on. But yeah, you just do what you say you're going to do and actually care about the client.
So if your business is in 5-alarm fire mode, crisis, something's happening, or maybe money's super tight, my runway's super short, obviously stressful. What are maybe one of the first couple of things you can do to start to right the ship?
The first thing, business runs on money, right? And so the first thing, you got to know where it's coming from. You got to know where it's going. The amount of times I go talk to a business owner and they're ringing the alarm bell. I said, okay, well, what's your runway? I don't know. How do you not know? Right. And then so let's figure that out. That needs to be the first thing we do. You need to know your numbers. You need to have you don't need to have, GAAP accounting done for your business. You don't need to have super detailed stuff, but you need to know the books. You have to have a P&L statement. So that's the first one. Do you even know where your money's going? Because if you don't, how are you going to stop it? So,
do you love the business, like figuring it out, the problem solving? What about your job do you love?
I love the problem solving. Yeah. I get to solve problems that really interest me, and I get to help people sleep. Right. So that's really what gravitated me to consulting and doing this, was I get to solve cool problems. They're fun. They're generally unique. I mean, they might be similar, but they're unique. Every situation is different. And I get to help people like that moment of like aha or relief, or, when it clicks, that's everything. It's awesome.
Well, I imagine it's a certain skill set to identify what's the root of the problem. And then a whole nother skill set to like, how do you actually implement behavioral change or habit change or willingness to change to do that? Like, and so how do you get it to where somebody like is becoming self-aware of what's really going on, the root thing, and then guiding them into potentially different behavior systems, optimization that way?
Yeah. That's a cool question. Getting people to change their behavior is very difficult. Generally, though, by the time a business owner comes to me, they are at that stage 5 alarm, and they are willing to make the change, right? Because it's either that or drown. So the business owner, once they're working with me, aren't necessarily the problem with the behavior change. It's helping them get their staff to start making those behavior changes. And that really depends on what the behavior is and what the problem is. I do a lot of leadership coaching. And so if they have a team member, or even not leadership coaching, just coaching, right? That can be part of my offering of I'll take your key employees aside, right? Work with them one-on-one, get them to buy into your system, and really do everything I can to do that. Ultimately at the end of the day, they have to decide that they want to do that. And if they don't, then it might not be the right fit, but do everything we can to, if they're willing, that it can be taught. So,
yeah. Well, Austin, you're very well educated, got an MBA from DU. But when did you really realize that you had a knack for business and for this line of work?
It was during my MBA that I realized that this is what I love to do. I got my MBA more just because it was available and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I was 30 years old and still trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. 36 now, still trying to figure it out, but I think I'm getting closer. But so while I was doing my coursework, I have a family of entrepreneurs. I have a dad who owns a law practice. 2 brothers own a coffee company. And so to make my education more beneficial to me, that's how it started out. I every project I could do for one of my family members, I did, right? And so, if it's a marketing class, hey man, can I do your marketing plan? And they got a ton of value out of it. And I realized I really enjoyed it. And so graduated, wasn't quite professionally ready to do this full time on my own. And so have worked a few other jobs, but this has been the goal for a while now. So.
Well, I imagine if you're good at your job, you work yourself out of a job, right? Like or maybe not. Maybe you keep people on retainers, like your refresher stuff. But how are you personally generating new clients and then graduating them, so to say?
Yeah, it's a lot of word of mouth, a lot of referrals. I love it. My bank account might not, but I love it when my clients can stop being my clients.
Yeah.
That's the goal. My goal is never to have somebody on retainer for 20 years. Obviously revenue wise, that's great. And if they need it, then great. But I'm never going to sell anybody anything they don't need. My goal is to help. Right. Yeah. So,
Well, and once they graduate and they have a transformation of some kind, it's probably a great way to get referrals and recommend people to you. Let's talk about networking, because I see you networking. We were at a Windsor Chamber event. We were at an economic forum. I saw you there. Obviously, I see you within my community. But share kind of how you put your networking habits together and how they all work together.
Man, I am relatively new to the networking game. And so honestly, I'm trying to develop the networking habits right now. You've seen me at a bunch of things because it's been very much, I've had the opportunity over the last few months to like cast a super wide net. I've had a lot of bandwidth. And so I've been a bunch of places trying to figure out the best ones for me. Your group's my favorite. I've gotten a lot of value out of your group. But I think it's just showing up, being there, and then really trying to not, like, obviously everybody's in it to get business, right, and to make money. But that's not my actual goal networking. My actual goal networking is to just meet good people, right, and to elevate the people that I interact with, because that's how we're all going to win. So.
Well, but some of it, you said I'm relatively new, but you're already taking like leadership positions and like the Severance Chamber and stuff like that. But I love the like jump headfirst into it. If I'm going to do something, I'm just going to go all in.
Yeah.
Rather than the dip your toe in strategy that I think a lot of people do in networking.
I try to build the plane while we're flying, man. I don't. There's nothing. Let's go. If we're going to do it, let's do it.
Yeah, well, talk to me, because with what you're doing with the Severance Chamber, and I know that's like home for you, is like, and you can work with people everywhere, but it's cool to see you take such a stand for that business community. What do you love about Severance and that chamber?
So I love living in Severance. My wife and I moved there 4 years ago, little bitty town. Honestly, we moved there because the houses were cheaper, but turns out I really love the community. That one came about. I took a board seat. Just they posted an ad that they needed board members, and I thought, oh shoot, man, like, money's a little tight. Like if I could get a free membership, like let's try it. And I've really, really, really enjoyed being a member of it. I love helping the people that kind of like get missed, right? And so when you're starting a business, you have a lot of resources, like the state has the SBDC. You have a lot of entering into business ownership help, right? And then when you're super big, there are a ton of consulting firms out there that will charge you plenty of money to do whatever you want. And there's this whole like middle layer of businesses who I think are actually the job creators and the economic drivers of the country, right? That really get missed. And so that's who I love. And so I joined the Severance Chamber to help them, because we're out in the middle of nowhere. We're not. We're right there. But, it's a little bitty town. And the chamber is an all-volunteer chamber. And so everybody is swamped all the time and just needed help. And so I think it's a cool way to give back to the community that I live in. I've been really doing a lot in Denver, professionally. And so I've been trying to, move myself north. I've lived in northern Colorado for 6 years now. I was like, it's probably time to finally plug into the community where I sleep. So,
well, I just imagine if there was a leadership void or there's a call for leadership and then you step into leadership, it's a great way to advertise just what you can do because of the platform. Would you advise other people who lead leaders the way that you do to get involved with their chamber at more like that inner circle?
I absolutely would. Yeah. I mean, I think anything in life is you get out of it what you put into it. And there's nothing wrong with not being in a leadership position in any organization, right? Leadership is not for everybody. But if you really care, if you really want to drive it, if you want to have a say in the way that it goes, then be willing to step up, right?
Yeah. What about your own business? So you're focusing on others and you're running your own business. Do you have your own blind spots, or is it? I mean, how do you keep your own business sharp as you're continuing to grow and expand?
Yeah, everybody has blind spots. I think keeping myself sharp is just never being comfortable with like half-assing anything.
That's good.
Like I need to be the best person I can be for every client all the time. Every client, it doesn't matter if you are, just starting out, you're a solopreneur and you're hiring me for coaching, or if you are making $50 million a year and you have 200 people on staff, they deserve the same Austin to show up and to be willing to help them, because that's who they're contracting, that's who they're paying, right? And it really makes it fun, and I learn a ton. It also, curiosity, I love learning these things and constantly evolving myself, and so that's the best way to do it, is just be willing to show up and put the work in.
Let me ask you about being a dad.
Okay.
Because you said, hey, I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. I got entrepreneurial siblings. I got entrepreneurial parents. And now you get to be the dad role in your own family, and you got small kids at home. Do you want them to be entrepreneurs?
I want them to be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love it. I want them, if they're not entrepreneurs, I want them to have the entrepreneurial spirit of being willing to chase a dream and see something you want to do and go try it, right? I don't care if they're entrepreneurs or not, right? They can do whatever they want, but I want them to have that builder mindset and that the self-confidence to say, if they want to, man, just go claim it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think, if someone's a first generation entrepreneur, they're starting a business, but maybe they weren't brought up like that. What lessons did you learn from being an entrepreneur family that you feel like maybe without that you wouldn't have got?
Yeah. So it's actually super interesting. They're entrepreneurs now, but they were not. My family was not entrepreneurial growing up. So
interesting.
My dad was a pastor most of my life. He's now been a lawyer for 15 years, I think, had his own practice. So it's really been, I've gotten as an adult to watch them to do that, right? My mom was a stay-at-home mom. 15 years ago, she didn't even have a college degree. She's in a PhD program right now. And so I saw that side of it, right? I saw the quote unquote safe route. And then I've seen the entrepreneur route and seen what they've managed to create since they've decided to branch out on their own. And I'm also the oldest brother. So, I wasn't growing up watching my brothers own a coffee company. Yeah. I was an adult. And I think that the biggest lessons that I would say are like, it's out there, right? And if you can dream it and you intelligently can plan it, you can go do it. It doesn't have to be the path that, everybody thinks it should be. You don't have to go work a corporate 9-to-5. And honestly, a corporate 9-to-5 is never a 9-to-5. It's always, I think I heard something a couple years ago that really stuck with me and kind of summarizes how I feel about this question is, you can fail at anything, right? You can fail at the safe path. You might as well fail at doing what you want. So,
well, that's, what I'm going to get this wrong, Brian, but it's like that Teddy Roosevelt quote is like, at least even if he fails, at least he fails with daring greatly. Yeah. It is powerful. Awesome, man. I just love the passion. I'm curious, since a lot of your areas like identifying problems and providing solutions, in a networking sense, it might be intimidating to be across from you. I'm like, is he analyzing my business? Like, is he trying to fix me or anything like that? So how do you build rapport to the point where people either approach you for support or feel comfortable or vulnerable enough where you can be the one that they ask for help?
That is an interesting thought that, I've never considered. One, I love people. I think I'm personable. And so that goes a long way. Back to the intense curiosity, like I want to know how your business works, and because I want to know how it works, right? I think my favorite thing about this is meeting just the most random businesses I had no idea existed and are crushing it, or not crushing it, right? But somebody is super passionate about something. So leaning into that, letting them do a lot more talking than I do, asking good questions. It might feel like I'm trying to diagnose your business. I haven't really considered that, but that's not what I'm doing.
Sure.
I do also like to, like just my personality, I tend to throw out like, oh, have you ever thought about doing this? Or have you ever thought about doing that? One of like an example of that, when the first event of yours I went to the Fort Collins group, and I was talking to one of the members there. And he has a big music background, and I said, well, have you ever thought about like tailoring, like experiences for people around music? He's like, no, never thought about that before in my life. It's like, well, I think you'd be good at it, but just doing that, right? Like I just throw it out there. I'm not going to charge people for that. Like it's just a talking and curiosity, and I'll give it away all day until it makes sense. So,
well, it's funny though, people who plant seeds or ideas into you, right? It could be just an offhanded conversation, totally changes your business or your life. And you never forget, like, hey, I was at this event and this person that said this to me and it changed everything.
Yeah.
How powerful that is.
Yeah.
Austin, so obviously networking is a big part of how you're growing your business and getting the word out. How would you advise your clients, your people that you support, to put networking into their overall business development strategy?
Yeah. I think first and foremost, you got to figure out what your business strategy is, right? Networking is great, and it's great for most people, but it might not necessarily be the best way for everybody to build their business. So you got to have those goals. But if you are going to get into networking, which again, I recommend almost everybody do, you I would advise to do it a little differently than the way that I do it.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe go a little slower, maybe bite off a little less. But it's really, you gotta put yourself out there, right? If nobody knows who you are, then nobody's going to buy from you or buy what you're selling. And so go out and meet people. It's networking is such a force multiplier in my mind. And just because that person is not going to be your client, or you're not going to be that person's client, doesn't mean that they're not going to be the best referral partner you've ever had, or somebody great in your back pocket, right? One of the things I talk about with people that I meet at networking is I love the fast wins that I can give potential clients, right? So I'm generally going to be a big ticket item. I'm not the cheapest. But if I can come in and say, hey, here's what I can do. But I also notice, like, whatever your merchant services is overcharging you, or, just whatever little thing that is an easy, quick win that I know somebody that can do that. Here you go. And then they may or may not use me, right? But they'll at least remember that I added value. Mm-hmm. And so when they do need me, they'll call.
Well, speaking of adding value, I know you have a free tool that's super valuable for business owners. If you want to plug it, shout it out to some business owners watching this and want to take advantage. Yeah.
So the one you're talking about it's a business analysis tool. It's an 8-question form. It's on my website, odleconsulting.com. It's a good one. It's kind of become a little hobby of mine to build these tools. I actually have like 12 or 13 of them that I've built, just because anytime anybody's like, man, I wonder about this or like that, I'm like, I can build that into a tool. So I have a bunch of them. They're all free. But the business analysis is the biggest, the top one, right? And it'll give you an overview of where your business is, just super high level. And then at the end of it, there's a contact me button. You can schedule a free 30-minute call or cup of coffee or something, and we can talk about what you learned about your business. So I really like that tool. It's really cool.
Well, very cool. So for business owners who want to do a one-to-one, get to know you, want to network with you, or potentially learn about all the tools, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Best way to get a hold of me is my email, austin@odleconsulting.com. Or my phone number is 970-502-1318. You can call me, text me, shoot me an email, whatever you want to do. But that's how to do it. There is a contact form on the website as well if you want to do it that way. But
perfect. Yeah, we'll put all that in the description. But Austin, thanks so much for coming on Connections That Matter, and we'll see you around Northern Colorado.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Hey all, thanks for watching. I love networking and building relationships with other Northern Colorado business leaders. So if you want to come meet some of these podcast guests, meet me, or meet some other amazing entrepreneurs in Northern Colorado, I would love to have you attend one of our next events. Go in the podcast description. There's a ways that you can see our upcoming schedule, and maybe you could be a future podcast guest as well. Thanks.